Howdy, Mike McCoy here. I hope this thing's recording. My wife's the cameraman. We're using a different camera today. My boy's got my GoPro down at the beach, so I don't know. Is it working?
I hope.
It's working. So, okay.
Quit wiggling.
How am I doing?
You're doing good.
Okay. She said to quit wiggling, so I gotta be still. Okay. The purpose of this video today is Logger Wade. I'm gonna go meet him sometime next month, I hope, if nothing don't happen. And the reason being, I just like him. I mean, he seems genuine. And last winter, I guess it was in the winter, it's cold. I was up here at the house and I was just throwing a pity party. I felt so bad. I was feeling sorry for myself. I was having to change doctor. My urologist said that my PSA count was rising. He couldn't do no more for me, and I was going to have to go to an oncologist. And I don't really like change, and I was afraid I'd get a bad doctor. And I know this Dr. Michael Messina, and I really wanted him, for he's got the name in this area being about as good as he come. And I've done some sewing for him. And a guy that I sell a lot of lumber to's wife used to be his nurse, and now she does something else, but she works with him too. And I asked her, reckon he'd see me, and she said, I'll see, you know. And usually with a, you know, like a cancer doctor, you got to be referred by another doctor. And I didn't figure my other doctor would refer me to him. I just didn't think he would. But anyway, Messina seen me, and it's all good. And me and him really get along good, and I really think a lot of him. I really appreciate him taking over my care. But all this is up in the air. And I was taking some kind of old pills, and I was convinced that they was killing me. I felt so bad I couldn't put one foot in front of the other. And I was just throwing a pity party. And I was here by myself. Mary Ruth wouldn't come up here and pet me, and I wanted to be petted, and she wouldn't pet me. She was busy stacking lumber or something or other. So I got my computer out, and I was going to watch a YouTube video. And Logger Wade, I had watched, I know at least one of his videos prior to this. Because me and a friend of mine talked pretty seriously there at one time about building a few wine barrels. He was a retired tool and die man. He said, I know I can build any kind of saw or whatever we need to make them with. And I'll watch Logger Wade's videos on making barrels. And that was pretty much a deciding point for me that I wasn't going to make no barrels. Right? There's a lot of going on there that would be hard to do, and it'd just be hard to do. And you couldn't build the tools you need for this for 8 or 10 barrels. You'd have to go into big time production. I didn't want to do that. So that's sort of settled that for me. And for some reason, one of his videos popped up, and he was telling some tale. I think it was a joke. It was a real corny joke, but it was a good joke, you know. And about halfway through that joke, or some point in the video, he just laughed, and that laugh just perked me up. I mean, I thought, well, you know, it's been a long time since I've laughed like that, and I used to laugh the same way, and really relish life, and I thought, you know what, it's been a while since I've done that, and there's really no point in not doing that. I'm not real sick. I really wasn't sick at all. I just convinced myself I was, you know. And talking to these doctors about this cancer and stuff is depressing. So I watched that video, and by the time I was done with it, he really had me perked up. He brought me out of a really dark spot there, and I appreciate that, and I want to go tell him I appreciate that. And you know, it's just one of them things. It wasn't no earth-shattering thing, but it meant something to me, because You know, if you're just beat down where you can't hardly put one foot in front of the other, and some little something comes along and perks you up a little bit, it's worth a whole lot. And I sent him some old picture frames. I mean, these things are scrap. I started not to even send them. I tried. It was an experiment. It wasn't. It wasn't intended to be nothing but an experiment, because I was wanting to find out how this gel coat works. This stuff, it looks real thick, like you put on bar top stuff. I was wanting to build a Chury end table and put that on it. And my wife said, you better build something small, because you don't know what you're doing to that stuff. And you go out and buy $200 or $300 worth of gel coat and you ruin that piece of wood and everything, you will be aggravated. So I decided to make a couple picture frames, put that gel coat on it, and it's going to be beautiful and everything's going to be just perfect. And I ain't got no need for picture frames, so I was going to send them to Loggerway. Well, I done just the way I thought I was supposed to. I put that stuff on there, and it wasn't set up. It was sticky, and it got bubbles in it, and it was just a disaster is what it was. And I'd put a little bit of work into it, and I hated just throwing picture frames away. And I was out there in the garage, and my son, he said, well, have you tried heating it? And I said, no. So he gets a propane torch, and he lays the fire to that thing and pretty much melted that stuff off. Got it on me, just about set me on fire. And then they had big smoke marks on them and stuff, but we got it all off of them. And I sanded them a little bit and laid polyurethane to them. And in a rough way, they look kind of good, but they ain't nothing. They definitely ain't nothing special. And if Loggerway decides to use them in a bonfire, it wouldn't hurt my feelings. But anyway, I sent them to him, and he was working on transmission in his truck, and he needed a pair of them clamps or pliers that you take them little old rings off of. Only place I ever seen is on transmission, but they ain't got no eyelets or nothing in them. You just have to, and them pliers are made to do that, and it'll take them off good. And I emailed him and told him I had a pair. And I could tell it, you know, he told me, he said, I don't want to bum your pliers. I mean, he ain't bumming my pliers. I'll never use the things again. And I'd like to see somebody get some good out of it. And I thought about it, and I said, well, if you insist on paying me for them, I'll take 50 cents. You know, just, you know. But anyway, and I like him, like the way he does his videos, and I think I'd like to meet him. And another thing, them guys up there in Indiana, the Illinois and them places, they have no accent, so you can talk to them, you can understand them. Us people down here in the South, you need an interpreter. Like, we don't say gas, we say guys. And we don't say walnut, we say warnit. And we was riding around with some friends not too awful long ago, and I think one of them's mama died recently or something other, and I said, yeah, me and mother needs to get us some barrel insurance. She said, barrel insurance? What's that? I said, well, that's to help pay your funeral expenses when you die. It's insurance. I said, you go down to the funeral home, you buy barrel insurance. She said, oh, burial insurance. I said, no barrel insurance. And, you know, that's just the way we talk. Sometimes you have to have an interpreter, but you can understand people in the Midwest. That's something that's always kind of surprised me. And most of the people that really makes fun of our accent is from like New York and places like that, and they've got just as bad accent as we do. But you know, they think we talk funny, so I guess to them we do. But yeah, and the only thing that Wade says that, and I understand what it is, I just can't repeat it. He don't call his videos, he calls them VJOs or VGs or something. Hell, it's videos, Wade, videos. I'll have to get him to show me how to pronounce that. But yeah, it'd be a good little trip up there and get to meet him. And when all this cancer stuff started, I come up with a bucket list. And we run all over the country. We went to Florida to that airplane show, Fun and Son. Before I got sick, I was really into airplanes. I was toying with the idea of buying one, but that ain't gonna happen now. But anyway, and I really don't care nothing about airplanes anymore. But there's an old boy that I'd made friends with, and he's kind of a big deal in aviation. One of them people that's, you know, almost famous. And I wanted to meet him. He seemed like a good guy. And we went down there. And I did get to meet him, but the meeting lasted maybe 10, 15 seconds. And I understand why, because he was working, you know, and I respect that, but it still stung a little bit not to get to sit down, you know, just have a few minutes of conversation with him. And then later on, I don't know if it was the same year, I guess it was, we rode the motorcycle down to almost to Georgia-Florida line, and they was having a get-together. There's some YouTubers, and it was just a cluster. I mean, there was probably 100 people there, and the ones that I really wanted to meet was naturally the most popular ones, and everybody was pulling at them in every direction, and I just said, no, this ain't for me. And I decided, you know, that's pretty much it. I ain't gonna fool with this no more. And then I got to be friends with Steve Raines, Cutworm 59. And if you don't watch his videos, you should, because Steve's just a good somebody. And we rode the motorcycle to Conway, Arkansas. And we lived just out of Asheville here in North Carolina, so from here to Conway is a pretty good trip. And me and Steve and my wife and his wife, we met there at a little, there's like a park called Toadsuck. It's on the Arkansas River, I guess. I know it's some river and it wasn't the Mississippi. And we sat there and talked for probably 30 minutes. And it's just like we'd known one another our whole life. And I really think a lot of Steve. And Steve's one of them people, if he called me at 12 o'clock tonight and needed something or other, I'd get it to him if it was any way possible. He's just that good a guy. And I thought, well, after this, let's just end this on a happy note. I ain't going to seek out no more YouTubers. And then I'm a dog didn't run across Wade, and I kind of want to meet him. So I guess one more can't hurt. And get to see Wade, buy him a beer, just delve him a little bit. And I would like to see his mom and daddy's sawmill too. They have got a really nice sawmill from what I've seen of it. And you know, my sawmill's more on the other end of the spectrum. Mine's just old wore out sawmill that just makes a little bit of lumber, and theirs modern and up to date, and it makes a whole lot of lumber. So I'd like to see that, look that over. So, but and to tell Wade that I appreciate him just pulling me out of that dark spot, and he don't know nothing about that, you know, but then he did. It's just that life, you know, just made me realize that, you know, life is important. And I do life now a whole lot more than I did, you know. But now there's one thing about life, and you got to remember, we target shoot down at the sawmill every once in a while. I'm good friends with a retired police captain, 2 or 3 more, and we go down there and shoot in the background. And you don't need to crack up with a big life when you're holding like a 44 Magnum and nothing funny's happened. You know, they look at you kind of funny. But other than that, life is great, you know. But later on, bye.